Good afternoon, everyone. Just to let you know, we'll just wait for a couple more minutes. I'm waiting for the rest of the delegates to log in to this webinar. Just a couple more minutes before we start the presentation. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, once again, and I would like to thank you for joining us this afternoon for our live session, focusing on Microsoft Dynamics. For today's session, we will be looking at automating prospect to cash for Dynamics. We will look at the integration between sales, finance, and operations, which is the prospect to cash integration. So just a couple of housekeeping for you. So today this is an only listen-only mode. If you do want to ask questions, you will have a chat window as showing on your screen right now. Please do ask questions now or during the presentation. A full screen is also available as showing on your screen just next to your audio button. Hopefully we hope to answer all your questions during our Q&A session, and then, as I said, full screen options available on your screen right now. So our presenter for today is my colleague Nathan, with the support from my Dynamics colleagues Srilakshmi and Adarsh. So without further delay, I now pass you over to my colleague Nathan.
Thanks, Mel. Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan. Firstly, thanks again for joining the session today, and welcome to our session on Prospect to Cash, which is our end-to-end solution for Microsoft Dynamics. So it looks like we have just under about 50 people today, which is a positive turnout for such a niche service. So thank you all for taking the time out. So I will quickly jump into the agenda. So today I will start with a quick introduction about Testhouse, a little bit about who we are and the services that we provide. I'm also aware that there are attendees with varying skill levels today. Perhaps you might be an expert in CRM or in automation, but just to be safe, I thought I would quickly run through what I think what test automation is. I'll then jump in and talk about the framework in a bit more detail. So for today's session, we've based this on Selenium C#. But now that's not to say that it is limited to Selenium. We are also able to do the same thing for UFT and Codage UI, which we have done for a number of clients. So within this part of the presentation, I will talk about the framework structure, its usage from a client perspective, screenshots of what the framework will look like, and the reports that get generated all the while through. I'll then do a slide about our offering for a free POC for test automation with Dynamics. And then I will run through a quick demo of the prospect to cash scenario. And then I'll hand back to Mel for the Q&A session. Okay. Just some key facts about Testhouse. We were founded in 2000 and have been headquartered in London ever since. So we actually started in Stratford, and about 5 years ago, we've moved on to the Docklands, which is about a stone's throw away from Canary Wharf. We have full service centers in the UK, in India, and the Middle East, but we also have a presence and offices in Saudi Arabia and the US. We're partners with a lot of the key test tool vendors, so IBM, HP, or now Micro Focus, and most importantly, we are a Gold DevOps Microsoft partner, a cloud partner, and a Dynamics partner. So as you're probably aware, Testhouse is a software testing consultancy, but we also try to pay attention to areas that could affect software quality. So things like your agile or DevOps maturity. And in recent years, a lot of people are trying to implement continuous integration and deployment to improve their CI/CD pipeline. So yeah, that is something that we also offer. And as a testing consultancy, we are very heavily focused on test automation. And over the last few years, we've done a lot of work around framework design. So our thinking here is to allow clients to execute automated test scripts with ease. We provide both non-functional and functional testing services, so performance, APM, compatibility, UAT, mobility. And through our global delivery options, we are also able to provide a very flexible blended delivery approach. So if you need to adhere to strict deadlines, we can also adopt a follow the sun methodology, so we can work around the clock and meet those deadlines. We are also TFS and VSTS experts, so we focus on deployments and upgrades for TFS, as well as migrating to the cloud, so from TFS to VSTS or from other platforms such as HP ALM. And I just wanted to mention another service which actually isn't in here is our offering around Windows 10 migration assurance. If you'd like any more details on any of these services, please get in touch via the chat or drop me an email after the session is completed. So before we go into the test automation for Dynamics, I wanted to talk about our well-rounded solution for DevOps for Dynamics. So our aim here is to bring Azure, Dynamics, and VSTS together to speed up delivery, but also keep costs low. So we try to enable continuous build, integration, delivery, and improvement for a streamlined dev and test process. And also make sure that you guys are readily prepared for future upgrades of Dynamics, which is starting to come a lot more regularly. If you'd like more information on DevOps for Dynamics, I believe we have a session that can be found on YouTube. Please let me know if you'd like to see it. So as I mentioned, just quickly about what test automation is. Now, I've got to admit, this is the general definition for what test automation is, but I feel like it covers it quite well. So I'll just run through this. Test automation is a method in software testing that makes use of special software tools. So in this case, that would be Selenium, to control the execution of tests. So what we're trying to do here is automate a manual process without the need for any human interaction. And then compares actual test results with predicted or expected results. So that's where you'll get a pass and fail and your reports will get built, and it will depend on what the expected results are. So I hope that gives you a little bit of background if you weren't already familiar, which I'm sure a lot of people are. So moving on to the structure of our framework. Now, our key aim when we were building this framework was for it to be user-friendly, but also customizable. So we elected to use Excel to data drive this framework, and we have actually we use a page object model-based framework with all the objects stored within Excel, which can be maintained and adjusted as the system changes. We also achieved automatic exception handling. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, what this is in the past when we would run automated scripts, once a failure happens, the script will stop, which is obviously not much use to us if we need to run multiple tests and the first one fails. So we've blocked that, so you can run as many tests as you like overnight. It will run through and you will get the reports once everything is completed. So while all these automated scripts are getting developed, being executed, the rich HTML reports will be created and screenshots will be captured for both pass and fail scenarios. And most importantly here, we've enabled customized batch execution. So you can pick and choose which test scripts you would like to run at any given time and run through as many as you like. So just a few snapshots of some of the screens within our framework. So as you'll see under test data here, you'll see two rows, both of which have very similar details in there, but noticeably you'll see that the password is different. So the second test will actually fail. It is a negative scenario and it's built to fail. So what we could do is we could copy and paste that field, add another row, and then put the correct password in, but put the incorrect username in. And that will reflect another negative scenario. So you have variations of the same test. And also, as I mentioned, you can find the object repository within the Excel workbook, as you'll see here. The reports are also stored within a folder, which you can click on and access all the reports, the dashboard, or the specific reports you're looking for, which I'll go into a little bit more detail in the next slide. And also on the right, you'll see the folder structure, which you find within Visual Studio. Now, although at first glance this might look a bit daunting, I assure you it's far easier to execute than it looks, and that will become very apparent during our demo. So during our report, these are snapshots of what will get created during that. So when you click on the file in the folder, it will take you to this page. You'll see the dashboard, which will have the total number of tests that were run, the total number of steps within those tests, the total time taken for those tests, and also pie charts for both pass and failed tests and pass and failed steps. But if you wanted to dive deeper into that, you could go for detailed reports. So at the bottom here, you'll probably remember from the snapshot I took from Excel, these are the tests that are getting run. So as I mentioned, the first one will succeed because the password is correct, and the second one will fail. So you can go into each of those. If you went into iteration 1, you could see where it failed, and it will give you a snapshot of what that looks like, and also the timestamp of when that happened. So just before I go into the demo that we have created for today, I just wanted to talk about our offering for a free proof of concept for new clients. So it's quite an easy process. If anyone is interested, please get in touch. So all we would have to do really is identify 3 key processes within your Dynamics platform, so things that are important to you. We usually suggest 1 high complexity, 1 medium complexity, and 1 low complexity. We'll identify that with you, and then we'll ask for a member of your team to walk through that process with us, or the processes with us, so we are familiar with what should be done. We would then request access to your environment for us to be able to automate those test cases. And then at your earliest convenience, we will organize a demo to show that back to you. And it's always nice to see something working on your own environment, so that's why we like to do that. And if you are happy with how everything has gone, we will go through a review stage, and we can also look at additional test cases that you might want to automate, and we can help you drive that and suggest the right test cases for automation, because as some of you are probably aware, not everything should be automated. And finally, if you are happy, we can engage on longer-term business and help you improve the quality of your Dynamics platform. Just a little bit of background on the demo that I will be displaying today. So what we'll be doing is, obviously the prospect to cash scenario. We'll start by creating a lead in CRM Dynamics for Sales, converting that to an opportunity, creating a quote for that, then creating a sales order and submitting that order, logging out of Dynamics for Sales and logging back in to the finance module. And then we check that the sales order is there, we submit that, and then we check the invoice status is what we expected. So in this case, it will be paid. So I'll move quickly on to the demo.
So when the batch execution is initiated from Visual Studio, the browser will be opened and Dynamics 365 will be launched. Now the script will enter the valid credentials and log into the application. So once everything is loaded, the user will then be navigated to the sales drop-down and then leads. Then it will click and open a new lead. Again, once all the business logics are loaded, the user will be in the lead creation page, and the mandatory values in the lead page are filled in and saved. A task will then be added to the lead. And then the lead will be qualified. Now the lead is converted into an opportunity, which will be verified by the automation script in the back end. And then, as always, all the mandatory fields will be filled in. The script will then add the price list and the product line items to the opportunity. So here you can see the product line item being added. We then click on the plus button against quote and verify that a quote is created. So here the automation script verifies that the product and quote details are added correctly. Once this has been verified, the user will then log out of the CRM application. And we'll move on to the finance module. So the script will automatically launch the URL for the finance module, and the user will be logged in. So now once everything is loaded, the script will then search for CRM sale. So now, as you can see here, the search gave us one result, which was Microsoft Dynamics CRM sales orders. So this will contain all the sales orders that have been shipped from Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So the script will then click on this link here, and we will then be navigated to the sales order page. So here the script will use the order name to search for the order we just submitted in the sales module. So as you can see, here is the order we just submitted. So the script will now click on this submitted order. And then it will select the submitted order and click Ship and Invoice, and then click Yes to open the posted invoice. The automated script will then click on Create Invoice in Dynamics CRM, as you'll see in the top left corner here. And our script has been done in such a way that multiple refreshes are done in this page until the invoice button turns active. So synchronization notifications, as you'll see in blue here, will be received until invoicing is actually possible. So now, as you'll see here, the invoice button is now active and the script will click on this button. After doing this, the user will then be navigated to Sales and then to Invoice. Now at this stage, the automated script will verify the details on this page, so the product and the price of the invoice, and then validate if all of this is correct. Then it will click on the next stage button to push it to review, and then click on Finish to send the invoice. Now it will click on the Invoice Paid button. A pop-up titled Paid Invoice will come up. The script will provide the reason as complete and then click on OK. The script will now verify if the paid option is displayed in the footer. The user will now be logged out of the application and the script has come to an end. So now we'll be looking at the reporting folder that gets created during the process. So within this report folder, the user can see the verification steps and the screenshots. And now, as you can see, the script has also created a report based on the various verifications and validations in all the different stages of executing this scenario. So now we have actually come to the end of our demo for Prospect to Cash. I really hope that everyone found it useful, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. Please feel free to ask any questions at
Thank you very much, Nathan, for that quick technical demo for Prospect to Cash. So this is now our Q&A session. As I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the presentation, if you do have any questions at all with regards to this presentation, please do type them on your chat window. We will take maybe a few questions for this presentation, and if we do run out of time, we might take them offline. So please feel free to type your question right now. I can see that we have a few questions coming through. Okay, so we do have a few questions coming through. The first question is, will the automation scripts created for Prospect to Cash in Dynamics work for older version of CRM, 2013, 2015, etc.? I think, Shulishni, can you take this for me?
Yes, Mel, I hope you can hear me. So the automation scripts that we have created for D365, this should actually ideally work in 2013, 2015 CRM, etc. So what would be the processes? We would be rerunning the scripts that we created for D365 in the new environments for 2013 and 2015. So once we rerun the scripts, we can understand whether there is any failure. In normal cases, we do not have to do any fresh scripting. The only challenge that we would be facing is regarding the object identification. So once we rerun the scripts, we can identify if there is a failure, and we can do maintenance inside the object sheet. And this would be actually requiring very less effort. So only the object identification would be an issue, and the synchronization. So ideally, it should work. So the scripts we've created for 365 should work in 2013, 2015 environments of CRM.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Okay, thanks for Lakshmi. Okay, I've got a few more questions here. Next question, how much time is required to get the data entered in sales module to get this reflected in finance? Adarsh, can you take this for me?
Yeah, sure, Mal. Thank you for the question. Actually, when the sales data is transferred into the financials, which will be happen in a few seconds, like 3 to 5 seconds, that will be happen when the order details is submitted to the financials module. So we can set these values in the synchronization section of the Dynamics 365 for financial modules. So using that section, we can able to set this value. Normally, we prefer it as a 3 to 5 seconds. That's fine.
Perfect. Thanks, Adarsh. I think this next question is quite good. Is there any incurred cost if I wish to proceed with the automation of our complete regression suite? Adarsh, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, there's no additional cost because based on the number of test cases, and we can set up the multiple environments or the machines there. So based on these test cases can be distributed accordingly. So since all the tools used are free of cost because they are open source, so there will not be any free of cost. It's free of cost.
Okay, so it's free, yeah? So there's no incurred cost at all.
Yeah, it's fine. Yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Adarsh. Okay. Next question. This is also a good one. What are the specific advantages of your framework compared to out-of-the-box Selenium solution? Lakshmi, do you want to take this?
Yes, Mel. So rather than the out-of-the-box Selenium, the framework that we have used here has actually got higher customization. Like we can actually, so basically for D365, there are certain generic functions that need to be created. Like searching, advanced search, lookup fields, drop-down selections, etc. So what we have done at our end is, inside the framework, we have created a generic function which would actually take care of all these particular scenarios. Whether you are creating new records, navigation between menus, all these will be handled by our framework. So additional time is not required for these general scenarios. Only the specific customer requirement needs to be scripted in addition. In addition to that, we might need to do certain maintenance in the objects because each Dynamic 365 implementation at the customer place will be different. But the general scripts will be coming up with our framework. And another thing is, like Nathan has demonstrated in the webinar, we have rich HTML reports, which is not present in the normal Selenium framework that we have integrated from Testhouse end. Then there are object repositories which can be handled by the customer. So the customer, whenever there is a maintenance, we will educate them and they can do the object repository maintenance through the Excel. They do not have to go to the code. So even if they are not aware of the high-end coding standards, they can simply do it through the Excel sheets. Similarly, the end user has the choice to provide test data. They do not have to depend on us. They can input their test data into our Excels and run it. So basically, it's too customer friendly. Rather than you working independently on a Selenium solution, you can actually depend on our framework, and there is no need to know Selenium C# end to end. You just need to understand the tutorials that we provide, and then straight away go ahead with the rerunning and maintenance part. So that is the ideal advantages.
Okay, thanks, Lakshmi. I think I have another follow-on question here. The question is whether your framework will be able to handle customized business process. Lakshmi?
Yes, Mel. Basically for customized business process, it will be like this will be created along with the time when we are doing the basic script creation. That is during the time when we start the initial script creation for the test cases, we will be doing the automation scripting for the customized business process as well. So since these customized business process controls are similar to the normal D365 elements, there will not be any issue regarding to the identification of the controls also. So only thing that is needs to be done from our end is we need to identify the controls for the process flows. So that will also be handled. We do not have to do anything extra. That will be handled during the implementation and the scripting phase itself.
Thanks, Lakshmi. Okay, we'll take one more question and we'll close the Q&A session after. So the last question is, will the scripts work for both online or on-prem version? Lakshmi, do you want to take the last question?
Yes, Mel. So it's like our scripts that we have created for automation can work on both online and on-prem. We have actually tested it. So what needs to be done is in the online version, it will work smoothly because Selenium is configured specifically for web browsers. And in on-premise, what happens is, in addition to what happens in online, we might have pop-ups coming, like Windows pop-ups and a couple of other pop-up handling that needs to be done. So this actually, the Selenium C# that we have on place, our framework, what it does is we have actually integrated the auto IT scripts also. What this would do is, in addition to the web browser controls, it can also handle the Windows-based pop-up. So for the on-prem version, the specific login is through the Windows pop-up. The authentication would be through the Windows pop-up. So these can be handled from our end because we have actually integrated the auto IT scripts for the same. So I think this should ideally work. We have tried it, and the only thing is there might be a little bit of time difference in the control loading. So that is very well managed using the synchronization timing, and since on-premise will be hosted on the client's end, there shouldn't be any time-related issues like loading and things. So it should perfectly work for both online and on-premise.
Thank you, Lakshmi. And that concludes our Q&A session for this presentation. Before we go, the recording hopefully will be available with you hopefully by end of play today or latest tomorrow morning. Again, if you do have any further questions that you would like to ask, please email them to Nathan. His contact details are on your screen right now. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Lakshmi, and thank you, Adarsh, for today's presentation. And thanks, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. And hopefully, we'll see you at our next live webinar session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel.